Yo, what is going on, Broncos country? How is everybody feeling tonight? So, we are back today to talk about the Broncos dominating win over the Dallas Cowboys this past Sunday. And before we get into that, before we get our gut reactions out there, please like, comment, subscribe on this video. Also, hit that bell notification so you know when we go live. Share this with your friends, your family, anybody that's a Broncos fan or football fan in general. We'd really appreciate it. So, Mohammed, your gut reaction. What was your gut reaction to the Broncos demolishing win of the Dallas Cowboys, 44-24, which technically wasn't even that close? But what are your thoughts?
How about them Cowboys, Eddie? I had to let that one out. I mean, what can I say, Eddie? Total domination. It's the game we're all been waiting for. It's the game that Broncos country was waiting, deserves, honestly. Total domination, offense, defense, special teams. What can I say, man? The offense just, I guess Sean Payton just let Bo Nix be Bo Nix. He just let him play. No restrictions, no screens, all that dumb stuff was, I guess it's behind us. I'm hoping this is what we're going to continue to see in the future. Four touchdowns? J.K. Dobbins had over 100 yards. And then the rookies, Eddie, just R.G. Harvey, 2 TDs. And then I love the Pat Bryant touchdown. We need to see more of that. The defense, 2 interceptions. Same thing, Eddie. Jahdae Byrne got an interception. And the one I really liked, Eddie, was Tillman when he got the interception. I like the big interception. He's like fumbling, trying to run. It was hilarious, Eddie. I had fun the whole game, honestly. I was at work, so I couldn't really see it like I wanted to see it, but I was really happy with the performance. Like I said in the beginning, I just hope that Sean Payton has figured out that he can just let the offense play like this, have that balance. We could say that maybe the Cowboys defense was a little bit on the weaker side. So maybe things were a little bit easier, but I mean, just never abandon the run. Like, even if it doesn't work, stay at it. It's going to work eventually. Third quarter, fourth quarter, defenses get tired. And then, we do that and our offense will keep us in games. I love the fact that Pat Bryant was involved. I could see this guy being a star, Eddie. Just overall, Eddie, I was pretty happy. And like I said before, the Cowboys always have an issue playing the Broncos. I don't know what it is. I mean, I'm not complaining. I hope it continues, right? The streak continues. But yeah, overall, I was pretty happy with the team. Broncos country deserves this win. I want to, emphasize that we deserve this win. We always, like in the past, the wins we got, especially this season, it was always iffy, and we always felt like there was some more that we could do. So I'm looking forward to us playing the Texans on Sunday, and let's continue, with this streak. And I'll give it to you, Eddie. Go ahead.
Beautiful win. Just absolutely freaking gorgeous. But let's get into this, man. I am so freaking pumped. Um, so yeah, Sean Payton actually called a complete game. The offense played a complete game. I was so happy about that. And excuse me. And the one thing that I noticed, and you touched on it, Muhammad, was we didn't see as many screen passes this game behind the line. So bubble screens, screens to the running back. We didn't see a whole lot of that this week. And I hope Sean Payton took notes of that and be like, dude, stop doing the screen game. The crap don't work. I know people say it's the extension of the run game. You talk about run. I don't know. It's still a pass, in my opinion. Like, yeah, it's behind the line of scrimmage, but you're still throwing the ball. Like, I don't, and it's still a completion for Bo Nix. Like, I don't want to see that crap. It don't work. I'm not saying you can't do it ever again. You can sprinkle it in here a few times a game, whatever, fine. But Sean Payton before this week, it's like he was constantly doing it. It wouldn't work, and like that was the one thing I was pulling my hair out about, as you can tell, is that when the run didn't work, Sean would try to run a few times and it wouldn't work. He'd go away from it completely. But whenever the screens, he would run those, they wouldn't work, and then he'd just keep doing it. It's like, Sean, it's not working. Please stop doing that. It drives me batshit crazy. But anyway, This is what happens when you open up the playbook and you let Bo Nix do his thing. Like, I've been a big proponent of running the ball, Muhammad. You know this. I've been talking about running the ball, running the ball, running the ball. We need to run the ball. We need to establish the run. And they did that this week. The Broncos, I looked it up yesterday. The Broncos had 29 pass attempts from Bo Nix, and they had 28 rushing attempts. That's the freaking balanced offense I want to see. Like last week against the Giants, Bo Nix threw it 50 times. Okay, I understand that. We were down, what was it? 26-8 in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
You know, we had to throw the ball, which I'm fine with. That's fine. But maybe, Sean, if you ran the ball a little bit more in the first three quarters, Bo Nix doesn't have to throw it 50 damn times. It's quite simple. So I'm hoping to God Sean Payton realized get rid of the damn screens. They don't work. Run the ball effectively. And you can win. And, you know, and it's some, like I said, it depends on the game. It really does. Like, if there's a team that you're playing against and they're really good at stopping the pass, whatever, you run the ball. If they're, you know, because usually defenses are bad at one thing and they're good at another. You know, sometimes defenses are good at both, but, you know, whichever one they're worse at. If they're worse at stopping the pass, you pass the ball more. If they're worse at stopping the run, you run the ball more. And that's what, so it goes on what the situation, you know, calls for. The situation calls for running the ball, run the damn ball. The situation calls for passing the ball, pass the damn ball. I'm fine with that. But he finally did a full game. Now, I know a lot of people are talking, oh, well, it was the Dallas Cowboys. They are literally the worst defense in the league. And I understand that. But it's like, it doesn't matter. They're still NFL players. They still get paid like NFL players. And this just goes to show, like, if you have a balanced offensive attack, you can move the ball. If you let Bo Nix off the damn leash, stop holding the kid back and just let him do his thing. Good things happen. You establish a run, you let Bo Nix off the hook on certain plays, and good things happen. You have a balanced attack, it works. And I just hope to God after this week, Sean Payton doesn't go back to these bubble screens, you know, constantly trying to push the ball down the field and going away from the run completely. I hope to God he doesn't do that.
There's always this fear in the back of our mind, Eddie. You could never trust him, man. You know?
It drives me nuts because that's what scares me, because I feel like that will be the downfall of this team this year. Yeah. If Sean Payton keeps trying to do these bubble screens that don't work, doesn't let Bo Nix sling it, and doesn't run the ball effectively, then you're going to lose games. But with all that said, happy with the win, man. We dominated. I mean, we freaking cooked the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Cowboys have the worst defense, and it's so funny. Like, to me, it's so hilarious because they have literally the worst defense in the NFL, but they have the best offense in the NFL. And that to me this past week was the key matchup, was the Dallas offense against the Broncos defense. That was the matchup I was waiting, because I'm like, you know, I felt like Sean Payton was going to do what Sean Payton always does, and it was going to be, you know, the offense is going to struggle. They're not going to run the ball. They're going to do these screens, and, you know, it's going to be a close game. But, and whenever the first drive came, you know, you saw those couple of nice passes, for, you know, you saw a couple of runs and you saw a couple of passes, and you saw Bo Nix. I want to get your opinion on this one. Do you think that was a miscommunication between him and Pat Bryant on that pick that Nix threw? Yeah. Or was it Bo Nix, you know, just threw it to the wrong area?
No, miscommunication. You know, he's a rookie, Eddie. He's still learning the playbook. He's got a great future, but I think it was miscommunication.
I think so too. Just that's not normal for Nix. Nix is very, very cautious with the football. Like, he doesn't throw picks. So, but then after that, it was like a switch went off after that interception. It's just like the offense just got into a groove, and there was nothing the Cowboys could do to stop that. Nothing. J.K. Dobbins had another 100-yard game, and look at this. Like, we had another 100-yard game, and what happened? We blew the freaking doors off the Cowboys. And it's so funny to me. Like, I saw people picking, you know, the Dallas Cowboys to beat us this week. Like, oh, that Broncos defense, as good as they are, they're not going to be able to slow down this Cowboys offense. George Pickens, CeeDee Lamb, and we held them to 17 points. The best offensive league, we held to 17 points.
I mean, Dak got benched in the end, didn't he, Eddie?
I don't think it's because the Broncos did the same thing. Once the Broncos were up 44-17, they literally brought in their backups. The Broncos did.
The backup got arm on him though, Eddie. Good God, you seen that pass he did?
Milton. Yeah, I saw it.
Monroe.
But both of the Broncos and Cowboys benched their starters after the Broncos were up. What was it, 37-17? Oh, no,
Yeah,
I'm sorry, 44-17. It was 44-17. Broncos benched their starters. Like I think it was just like, okay, this game's over. It was the Cowboys were like, this game's over. We're not even no.
the backup
And
got some practice.
yeah, the backups got some practice in, but dude, we held this best offense in the league to 17 points. This is why I'm not scared of the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm really not scared of them because, well, people are gonna be like, well, we'll talk about this in a minute with Patrick Surtain, but he was out for the second half of that game, and we still held Pickens and CeeDee Lamb to, I can't remember how many, like a touchdown. I think maybe they got one touchdown with their starters in the second half, and that was it. So, and that was without PS2. So I'm not worried about the Kansas City Chiefs, man. Like the Cowboys have a better tight end, a younger, faster, more athletic tight end than Travis Kelce. In my opinion, they have a better offensive line. Dak's playing better than Patrick Mahomes this year, and they got better receivers. And I'd say they probably got about the same group at running back. Well, maybe not because Javonte, he's like second in the league at
Yeah.
rushing this year. So they have a better run game, and we shut them down. Like I'm not worried about the Kansas City Chiefs this year. It was a great win, dominating win, but like you said, hopefully Sean Payton sticks with this, and doesn't go away from what he did this past week. Because if he can stick with what he did, man, oh my God, this team is going to be freaking. They can win the Super Bowl. If Sean calls the same game plan on offense every week that he did this week, and the defense keeps playing the way it is, we can make a Super Bowl. I
You
have
know,
no doubt in my mind.
Eddie. I think what it is he's got no patience. That's the thing. Like he's smart as he could be, but he just does not have the patience to wait for the run game to work. You know, especially if the other team gets a lead on us, he's like, you know what, it's not working. Bonex, just throw it. You know.
Well, I was listening to the herd earlier, Colin, whatever the fuck his name is. I was listening to him earlier, and he says he thinks the reason why the Broncos throw so much and why Sean's making Bo Nix throw it so much downfield is he's preparing him for the playoffs. In the sense that when you play in the playoffs, you might be trailing because you're playing the best of the best in the playoffs, like the Chiefs, the Bills, maybe possibly the Ravens, possibly, the Patriots or whoever it is. You're going to be playing these guys in the playoffs, the Chargers. And if you're down, you're going to have to be able to push the ball downfield. And that's what Coward's saying is like he's making Bo Nix do this now, so he's ready for it in January. Which I'm like, it doesn't matter. Like, you got to trust Bo Nix to do that in January. Like, if you don't win the games now and you don't play complete games of football like you did, this past week, if you play games like you did against the Giants or the Eagles, the rest of the season, you're not going to make the playoffs. You ain't going to have to worry about that. You're going to be going to Cancun during the freaking January season. So, no, just stick with what gets you the dubs. Have a balanced offense, run the ball, and then open the playbook up for Bo Nix and let him fling it downfield. So, but with all that said, I wanted to touch on some things before we move on. Bo Nix this week was 19 for 29, 247 yards. He had a 65 completion percentage. He averaged about 8.5 yards a pass, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. He took 0 sacks. Again, the Cowboys' defense is atrocious. And he had 117 passer rating. J.K. Dobbins, 15 attempts, 111 yards. He had 7.4 yards a carry. And then if you look at Harvey had 7 attempts, 46 yards, 2 tutties, and he had 6.57 yards per carry. The running backs are doing their job.
Yep.
So is Bo Nix. But this is just, and like I said, they had 28 rushing attempts and 29 passing attempts. That's what you need to stick with. A balanced offense. Like I said, if 1 week it calls for you to pass more than run, okay. If 1 week calls for you to run more than pass, do it. It's not that hard. But with all that said, it's like, man, the Broncos had a dominating win Sunday, man. It was so great to see. I want to see more of that. And what was the other thing I was going to touch? Like this freaking offense has the potential to be one of the top offenses in the league. I think right now, as I look at it, the Broncos defense is ranked third in the NFL. After this past week, the offense is ranked 10th. That's good enough to win a damn Super Bowl. A top 5 offense, a top 10, or I'm sorry, a top 5 defense, and a top 5 or a top 10 offense. That's good enough to win a Super Bowl. You just gotta get out of your own way and just do what you need to do, and don't have penalties, which they didn't have a whole lot of. But right now, I wanted to ask you about this, Muhammad. Right now, the Chiefs won last night. I don't know if you saw that. They beat the Commanders handily. Yeah. But this coming up week, the Broncos have the Houston Texans in Houston. The Chargers have the Tennessee Titans, I think, in Tennessee, if I remember correctly. And then the Chiefs go on the road to Buffalo. I believe the Broncos are going to upset the Texans because, their offense is just atrocious. Like, I watched the Texans game last week. CJ Stroud was running for his life. Their defense is like one of the best in the league. It's right up there with ours. So this offense is going to have its hands full, but our defense should have no problem keeping us in this game. I believe the Broncos will beat the Houston Texans. I believe the Chargers are going to beat the Tennessee Titans because Tennessee is just atrocious. And I think the Bills are going to beat the Chiefs because they're playing in Buffalo. And we always know the Buffalo Bills always have Kansas City's number in the regular season. Kansas City can never beat them in the regular season. If that's the case, if that plays out that way, literally the division doesn't change. Other than the Broncos go 2 games up on the Chiefs rather than 1. But what are your thoughts on this, Muhammad? What's your thoughts on this? What do you think the outcome of these games are going to be this week?
Yeah, I mean, with the Texans, it's not going to be an easy game by any means, Eddie, because their defense is pretty good. But I think our defense is going to be better against their offense. Their O-line is terrible. They're going to eat. They're going to get some sacks. That number is going to go up. Low-scoring game, I believe, but we're still going to come out with a win. Chargers should beat the Titans unless some crazy happen. I mean, I would love for a miracle to happen. They'll take their they might beat them. Who knows? We'll see. But yeah, the Chiefs, no way. I do not see them going on the road against the Bills, and they're already pissed off at the Chiefs for always beating them, getting them out of the playoffs, the Super Bowl. That's going to be a good game. But yeah, Eddie, I sort of agree with you. I think we're going to win. I could see the Chargers winning and the Chiefs probably going to lose. So, we should just continue.
Yeah, like I said, the standings ain't going to change. The Raiders, they play the Jags this week, I think, in Las Vegas. I don't think that's going to matter. Like, even if the Raiders win, they're still going to be in last place. But I don't see them beating the Jags. I think the Jags are going to walk in there and kick the living crap out of them. I see the Buffalo, like I said, Chiefs always have trouble beating Buffalo. They always have trouble beating Buffalo in the regular season. The last couple of years, Buffalo just takes them out in the regular season. So I got the Chiefs losing. Chargers, if they don't beat the Titans, man, they're not a serious contender in my opinion.
You lose to like Eddie Lecker. They got a lot of injuries. I mean,
well, I'm just saying the Tennessee Titans are 1-7, dude, and they literally fired their head coach a few weeks ago. Like, if you get beat by them, I would just pack it up for the damn season. And then the Broncos take on the Houston Texans, which I agree with you. I think it's going to be a defensive game, and it's going to be a low scoring game. But here's the best thing about that, Muhammad. What's the one thing the Broncos defense is like number one in? What's the thing they do the best?
Sacks.
They lead the NFL in sacks.
Yep.
Okay. And guess what the Broncos offensive line leads in?
Same thing.
They lead not giving up sacks. Bo Nix is taking the least amount of sacks. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure of any quarterback this year. I think he's only got like 8 sacks on the year. I don't give a damn how good the Texans defense is. Our offensive line's better. And Bo Nix gets rid of the ball quickly. He doesn't hang on to it. He gets out. If he doesn't find nothing, he scrambles. Like, that's going to be the key to victory in this game. our defensive line getting after CJ Stroud and getting his ass down. With that offensive line the Texans have, dude, they're going to be feasting, in my opinion, on Sunday. They're going to be constantly in the backfield after CJ. And then if our offensive line can hold for 3 seconds, the ball is going to be out of Bo Nix's hands. Like, they ain't going to be able to sack Bo Nix because either he's going to take off if it's not there or he's going to get rid of it. That's just the way it is. So that's going to be the key right there for me, the Broncos winning. And honestly, running the football, because you want to establish the run, because if this game's going to be low, like especially in low scoring games, defensive struggles, whoever runs the ball more effectively and has more time of possession usually wins those low scoring games.
Yeah.
You run the ball, you take time off the clock, you control the game. In these low scoring defensive battles, that always wins the games. 90% of the time, that wins the games.
Yeah.
So the Broncos, that's why I'm saying this week, the Broncos need to heavily, heavily, heavily run the ball. Keep the ball out of CJ Stroud's hands and do not let him. I mean, even if he does, I think he's going to have problems getting it down the field, but you don't want to risk it. Run the ball, wear that Texans defense out, and you control the flow of the game.
But Eddie, yeah, I agree with you. Just the thing is, like, my fear is for Sean Payton to go back to being Sean Payton again. Because if their defense is really good and he's running the ball and it's not working, it's not going to work right away. It's a good defense, right? If we keep like going 3-and-out punts, he's just going to start getting frustrated. But I hope Sean Payton proves me wrong and he has the patience to run the ball. Because if he does, we shouldn't have any issue beating the Texans.
That's why I'm saying I'm hoping, even though the Dallas defense is the worst in the NFL, if there is one thing I want Sean to take out of that game from last week against the Cowboys is be balanced on offense and let Bo Nix sling it. Call the same game plan you called last week against the Dallas Cowboys. If you do that, and like I said, I think like this game's going to call for more running than passing. Run the ball, Sean. Run the ball more. I don't care if it's like, I don't care if we have like 35 rushing attempts. Like that's what I want. 35 to 40 rushing attempts and maybe like 20 passing attempts.
Yeah.
That's what I want to see this week. Control that fucking clock. Get out of there with the win. I don't care if it's ugly like the Jets game was. Just get out of there with the W.
The defense will eventually get tired, Eddie, if you keep running the ball on them, even if it's not working. We know it's going to happen. They're going to get tired. So, like
I said, Sean, you got to stop and think, dude. You have a chance to really push the narrative. You have a chance to really, I'm not going to say shut the door on the division, but you have a big chance on really, taking advantage here and taking a major step in, winning this division this week. If you beat the Houston Texans in Houston, like I said, Chargers, I'm not worried about. Like I said, I think they're going to beat the Titans, but the Chargers are going to charge. They're going to freaking screw it up by the end of the season, and they're not going to I'm not saying they won't be in the playoffs, but they're not going to be competing for the division. Even though Kansas City's right there with them. They're both 5-3 right now, Kansas City and the Chargers. But the Chargers still have the game up on them because they beat them earlier in the season. But I'm more scared of the Chiefs coming back at this point than the Chargers. Like the Chargers, I'm not worried about. They're going to wind up screwing around. They're going to wind up losing. And like I said, they'll make the playoffs, but they're going to be out of contention for the AFC West. I'd say probably by week 13 or week 14. They're going to wind up messing around and screwing it up.
Yep.
The Chiefs are the only ones that really concern me. And like I said, I believe the Bills are going to beat their ass this week because they're in Buffalo, and Chiefs can never beat the Bills in Buffalo, especially during the regular season. And if you beat the Houston Texans, that puts you 2 games up on Kansas City. And then the following week, this is where it gets tricky. Well, not really tricky, but it gets interesting. The following week after this week, week 10, guess who you got in week 10, Mohammed? You got the Las Vegas Raiders here in Denver. KC is on a bye week at that point. Now, the Broncos their bye week is week 12. But if we can beat Houston and Buffalo beats Kansas City and we beat the Raiders next week, we're 3 games ahead of the Kansas City Chiefs in the division.
I can't wait for that Raiders game, Eddie, right?
Yeah. And then that makes week 11's game even more intriguing because the Kansas City Chiefs, they're going to be, if they lose to the Bills, they'll be 5-4 going into their bye. and whenever the KC Broncos game comes around, if we could beat the Raiders and Texans, we'll be 8-2, and they'll be 5-4. We'll be 3 games ahead of them. And then that KC Denver game here in Denver is that much more, what's the word, important. Because if you can beat KC in Denver that week, after beating the Raiders, beating the Houston Texans, and the Bills beat the Chiefs this week, you can be 4 games up. They're not coming back from that. I'm sorry.
Nope.
They will not come back from that.
And I better not hear any word from anyone about the Broncos not being good enough to go to the Super Bowl.
Well, here's the thing. They can still make the playoffs. I think the Kansas City Chiefs, even if that situation plays out like I just said, the Chiefs can still make the playoffs. They can. They're going to be a wild card team, but they can make the playoffs. But if you do what I just said, if you beat the Houston Texans this week, beat the Raiders, then beat the KC Chiefs in week 11, go up 4 games on them, you're 9-2. KC will be 5-5.
Yep.
They're not coming back and winning this division. The only people, like I said, and I don't think they will, but the only team you would have to worry about at that point would be the Los Angeles Chargers to compete for the division with. And I don't think it's going to be the case. Like I said, I think by like 13, 14 week, they're going to completely collapse and fall apart because they always do. Until they can't do it, they're going to do it, in my opinion. So these next 2 games are crucial. Like I said, I got Buffalo beating Kansas City. I don't think the Kansas City Chiefs are going to beat them. I really don't. They never do in the regular season. If the Broncos can handle their business this week in Houston, take down the Texans, I believe 100% we're going to beat the Raiders in Denver. That team is atrocious. It's horrible. Pete Carroll's in over his head. Geno Smith is a bum. So you're going to beat them. You'll be 8-2 going into that Kansas City game. And if you can take them out week 11, granted, you still got to play them again on Christmas Day, week 17, I believe it is. But that's going to put you 4 games ahead. That means the Kansas City Chiefs are going to have to win every game rest of the season. The Broncos will probably have to lose the majority of their remaining games in order for KC to take the division.
You know, Eddie, that's a pretty good point. And that's why, I know we've been talking about it, but that's why it's a perfect opportunity before the trade deadline. We have a perfect opportunity here, Eddie. If there's a player, even if you have to give up some capital that can really help us, please bring him, a tight end, a linebacker, whatever it is. You know, I don't care if we have to trade a 2nd-round pick. Bring the help so we have a perfect opportunity to go deep in the playoffs. That's what I think.
Well, there's been a lot of talk around this, Mohammed. Now, there's a lot of people talking like the initial thoughts before the news came out today about our backup tight end, Lucas, or was it Lucas Kroll? No, it was Nate Atkins. And was it Lucas Kroll?
I think it was Kroll.
Yeah, there was 2 tight ends that came out today that they're out pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people were talking about getting a wide receiver. I'm like, I wouldn't touch the wide receiver room. I really wouldn't. Cortland Sutton, Pat Bryant, Troy Franklin, Marvin Mims. You got a steady group of wide receivers there. I mean, yeah, you got your number 1 in Sutton, and people are saying, well, you don't have a true number 2. You got Pat Bryant, you got Marvin Mims, Troy Franklin. You know, you got 3 other guys to take that wide receiver 2 position. Like, even if you rotate them in and out, with Sean Payton, he always rotates players in and out, which I don't like, but whatever. You always got a fresh pair of legs in there. So I wouldn't go receiver. Tight end, now that's the one I would start looking into, but here's my problem with that, though, Mohammed. Like, yes, we're down 2 tight ends, but you still have 2 tight ends on the practice squad, one of which is Loner, who you drafted in the 7th round. I hope this week they bring him up off the practice squad. I like to see him out there on the field just to see what he can do. You know, give the kid a chance. You got 2 tight ends down, bring that kid up, see what he can do. But the reason why I don't want the Broncos to trade for a tight end either is because he barely uses Evan Ingram. Like, we've seen a little bit more of him in the last couple of weeks, ever since I'd say probably, I want to say maybe like, it was like, you've seen a lot of them in the Eagles game. You know, you've seen a lot of them in, I mean, mostly because of that big touchdown he scored, to pretty much go up. And then I don't really recall him much in the, what was the next game? It was was it the Giants? Who we play after the Eagles, Muhammad? I can't remember. They were week 5, week 6.
The Giants, yes.
Was it the Giants?
Yep. Eagles, Giants.
And then who we played last week? We played the Giants last week. So there's another team in there because we're in week 9 going into. So we played
Cowboys, Giants before that, Eagles, and then who
there's
was it?
another
Oh,
team in there.
the Jets.
Jets, that's right.
Yeah.
You didn't really see a whole lot. You seen them in the Eagles game. You didn't see him much in the Jets game. You saw him a little bit in the Giants game. He made a few plays, and then you saw him a little. You saw him a little bit on Sunday against the Cowboys. But that's the thing. It's like they're not the one tight end they brought in this offseason. You don't see a whole lot of him. You see him a little bit more these last couple of weeks. But it's like, do you really want to trade draft capital to bring in another tight end? Sean Payton's probably not going to utilize much.
But you know what? You could get a tight end that can actually block. That would help us with the run game.
Well, if that's the case, like I'd rather bring in like I said, I'd rather bring in loaner from the practice squad, get somebody off the street, a free agent. Like I'm not going to waste resources on bringing in a guy just to block. I mean, you still Adam Troutman's still out there. He's the best blocking tight end you got.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't waste a pick on a tight end. And this week is going to be really hard because Greenlaw comes back this week. His suspension has been lifted. He comes back. If he comes out and dominates this week, like in the run game, pass game, whatever, if he comes out and dominates, I don't think you're going to see a trade for an inside linebacker either.
Yeah.
The only position, and I don't even know if they'll do this because they got plenty of depth at that position, and that's corner. Now, let's talk about the Surtain thing, and we'll go back into that. Surtain got hurt twice, honestly, in the Cowboys game. The first time, I think it was something to do with his shin. He went in the blue medical tent. He came back out. He finished the half. And then right before half, he went to make a tackle, and he did something to his bicep. He didn't tear it.
Mm-hmm.
If he would have tore it, I heard the rumor is if he would have tore it, he would have been out for the season. Yeah. But he just strained it. Now, yesterday the reports came out, and there was a bunch of conflicting reports that the first one I initially saw said he's going to be out 4 to 6 weeks. The second one I saw, what was from a rap report, said he's week to week. And then I listened to Zach from DMVR. He said initially it was going to be 4 to 6 weeks, and he comes back and says, no, I watched a video of him earlier today. It says he's week to week, a couple of weeks, which means he's going to miss the Texans game. He's going to miss the Raiders game, and he's maybe going to be back for the Chiefs game. But this is the big thing. Then it came out that he was, I saw yesterday, he's going to go out and get a second opinion from another doctor this week. Surtain is. And depending on what that opinion is from the second source, the second doctor, my thing is if you don't see Surtain go on IR by the end of this week, you'll probably see him week 11 against the Chiefs. He probably won't be in the next couple of weeks. They're going to rest him because they're playing the Texans, who literally don't have any receiving options. And their offensive line's garbage. I think Nico Collins, their best receiver right now, he might not even play this week. Then you got the Raiders without Brock Bowers or a true one receiver. So I would hold him out those 2 games and just deal with what you got. If you could rest, if he doesn't go on IR, rest for the next 2 weeks and then have him ready to go for the Chiefs. Because I do believe we might. I'm not going to say we're 100% need him for that game, but it would be nice to have him, Absolutely. Back at that point. So, but we'll just have to wait and see. If he goes on our IR by the end of the week, like I said, then he's probably going to be out until like the second Raiders game, which is like week 14, maybe week 15. We won't see him.
Be close to the season.
Yeah, but if he doesn't go on IR by the end of the week, then he's probably going to be back in a couple of weeks. That'd be my guess. But what are your thoughts, Mohammed?
Yeah, and initially I was, obviously, with PS2 being PS2, I was kind of worried. But when I kind of sat down and kind of thought about it, we have Abram Drains, we have Jahdae Byrne. I'm pretty sure Vance Joseph can kind of scheme something. We'll be fine for a few weeks until he comes back. The important thing is when he comes back, we got to make sure he's healthy, and we shouldn't rush him to come in because we're going to definitely need him for the playoffs.
And that's the other thing I wanted to touch on. Like over these last couple of weeks, the first 6 weeks of the season, and then this week against the Cowboys, they didn't have Dre Greenlaw. Dre Greenlaw is your, guy that can block tight ends. He's your pass, he's like your inside linebacker that's good at, stopping the pass. So over the first 6 weeks and this week against the Cowboys when he was suspended, their slot corner, either if it was McMillan or Barron, mostly played on the tight end. That's how Barron, thank you, buddy, got his first career interception against the tight end. He was covering Ferguson. The Cowboys, that's the one target Dak loves going to. That's their main guy. Do you think of Pickens? You think of CeeDee Lamb? But these last couple of weeks, Dak's like when Dak needs a third down conversion, he goes straight to freaking Ferguson. And guess what? Jahdae Barron was all over him.
Yes.
But that's the good thing about it. Now that Greenlaw is going to be back this week and most likely healthy because he played a limited game in that Giants game, and then he was suspended for this game, so he got an extra week to heal more. He comes back. He's probably going to be full go this week, I would assume. And he can be that guy for you to cover that, or that tight end. That way it takes the slot corner, whether if it's McMillan or Barry, which we'll get to here in a minute, to be able to play a receiver.
Exactly.
You ain't going to have to put a slot corner on a tight end. You got Drake Greenlaw for that. He can cover him, and then you can put your slot corner on a receiver. And that's the thing, too. Now, a lot of people are talking about, we got Riley Moss, Chris Abrams-Draine, you got Jaquan McMillan, who's our true nickel corner, and you got Jahdae Barron. Jahdae Barron, he's been playing in sub packages, him and McMillan switching out, on the corner position and the nickel this season. But I don't know if you remember this, Mohammed, because I was actually reading up on this earlier because I remembered it. But in preseason and in training camp, they had Jahdae Barron doing separate reps. Like he was doing 50-50. He was doing 50% nickel. He was doing the other 50% on the outside. So they can use him on the outside if they really need to.
Mm-hmm.
Just keep, if you want to go nickel or dime and you want to have that nickel corner out there, McMillan's your guy. Like he'll be in the nickel, he'll be fine.
Leave him on.
Chris Abrams-Draine is not doing that well, or Riley Moss ain't doing that well. You can put Jahdae Barron out on the outside, and I think he can handle it.
Yeah, I agree.
So, but I like Chris Abrams-Draine. He had a great game. He had a couple times he played last year. He had a good couple of games. He had that big interception on the goal line against Justin Herbert in that Chargers game we played last year. So, man, it can be big. Now it's like good thing that we drafted a corner in the first round. He is a first round talent. Like if you need him to play outside, I believe Jahdae Barron can. He can play out there until Surtain comes back. And dare I say, Mohammed, like I'm not saying this is going to happen, but I'm throwing it out there into the stratosphere right now. What if Jahdae Barron plays so well while Surtain's out that when Surtain comes back, in your opinion, what are the odds if Jahdae Barron plays well while Surtain's out that he could take over Riley Moss's job? And then maybe you can have a trade partner that's coming up all season. Because Riley Moss, I think he should be coming up on getting a new deal because I'm pretty sure he's still on his rookie deal. Is that possible to you, Mohammed, that Jahdae Barron plays so well that maybe he takes Riley Moss's job at the end of the year?
Yeah, absolutely, Eddie. And I honestly feel bad for Riley Moss, all the hate he be getting. I mean, I share the blame for that too. What can he do, Eddie? Like, those quarterbacks are not going after PS2, so he's going to be targeted. I think he's like the most targeted in the league. So that's why it shows a lot of times that he's not doing as well. And, but he tries and he's coming back from an injury. We kind of forgot about that, but yeah, if he does, I mean, he's a first round pick, Eddie. They have to play him at some point. If he shows flashes, I can actually see that happening. It is a good problem to have, though, Eddie.
Yeah, and because he already paid PS2. If Jahdae Barron becomes that cornerback too, he's like, this is his first year, man. Exactly. You still got him on a controlled contract for the next 3 years, 4 years.
Gotta pay him.
And if he does play well, then you can be like, okay, Riley, we're sorry, but we're going to trade you. And Riley Moss is good. Don't get me wrong. Like, people were posting his numbers up. He has one of the best, pass defending ratios in the game. And people want to talk about, he gets beat. Well, yeah, sometimes you're going to get beat, especially when you're playing opposite of the defensive player of the year on the other side, Surtain. You're going to get targeted a lot more. And sometimes,
yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes those balls are going to get caught. Like if they're constantly going after you, they're going to catch those balls every now and then. They will. You're not going to be able to beat them every single time with how many targets you're going to see. So with that said, it's like, but you could probably get something out of Riley Moss if we decide to trade him in the offseason. If Barrett shows he could be that outside guy, opposite or Surtain, you have him on a cheaper deal. You ain't got to pay Moss, and you can move on from him and get a draft pick. But with all that said, it's like, you still got Chris Abrams-Drain, which I don't know what they think of him. I mean, he played a lot last week after Surtain went down, but it's like I think this week they should give those snaps more to Jahdae Barron, see what he can do on the outside. Because, like I said, you're going up against the Texans' offense this week. That's not very good. Like Stroud, he's constantly running for his life. They have no old line. Their top receivers are out with injuries, I believe. I would put Jahdae out there and just give him the experience to see what he can do.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing too. Like I said, the next couple of weeks, dude, this week and next week, you are literally going up against two offenses that literally do not have a wide receiver one available or at all. Like this is the perfect time for Jahdae to get out there and play the outside and see what he can do. Perfect. And this is why I'm not as worried about Surtain being out these next couple of weeks, because you're going up against two offenses that literally can't do shit. Don't have a wide receiver one. Like last week was probably the worst, because it's like you got George Pickens, you got Jake Ferguson, you got freaking CeeDee Lamb all out there. Surtain goes down in that second half, and this secondary still held their own. And I think it's going to be even better this week, even with Surtain out, because like I said, the Texans' offensive line is atrocious. Our defensive line is going to be hunting all freaking week this week.
They're going to eat, Eddie. Can't wait.
They're going to be back there. I think right now the Broncos are sitting at 35 sacks. I would not be surprised by the end of this week with that Texans offensive line that the Broncos don't go over 40 sacks this week.
Easy.
I would not be surprised.
Mm-hmm. He's going to be running for his life, Eddie, and I'm going to love watching it too.
And then the following week, you got the Geno Smith-led freaking Raiders, and their offensive line is atrocious. They'll probably get another 5 sacks in that game.
Yep.
So the secondary, you ain't really have to worry about the next couple of weeks, because you don't have top receivers out there like you did with the Cowboys. And both of the offensive line for the Raiders and Texans are garbage. This team's probably going to get 5 sacks per game for the next 2 games. And then you got the Kansas City Chiefs the week after. Hopefully, if Surtain doesn't go on IR, like I said, you'll have him back for the Kansas City Chiefs game, and then you're really set. So, but we're at 43 minutes, Mohammed. I think that's enough for tonight because I'm getting sleepy. I'm sure you are, because I know it's 10:30 where you're at.
Yeah.
But any more questions or comments? Any final thoughts before we get out of here tonight, Mohammed?
No, I mean, just wanted to reiterate that the Broncos are in good shape. How we win or how we lose, I think it's all about how Sean Payton's behave as far as like the offense. Just patience. That's all I'm gonna say. I do think it's gonna be a very low-scoring game against the Texans, but I think we're gonna come out winning. There might be some opportunities from some picks too, Eddie. I know we haven't, our defense is kind of low as far as interceptions. I think they might have some opportunities this game. Hopefully with Greenlaw coming back. Yeah.
They got 2 this week against the best offense in the league.
Exactly. They say he didn't have as many. Dak didn't have as many the whole season, right?
I think going into that game, I think he only had 4, maybe 5.
Yeah. So.
And then rookie got him. And then freaking outside backer got him, and DeAndre Tillman, a freaking UFL guy from a couple of years ago.
It too, Eddie. I slapped, man. It was
It was beautiful.
Do
it right to him too.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, that's all for us tonight, guys. We'll be back next week. Hopefully by this time next week when we're doing our live, I'll have all my stuff back up. I'm actually moving this Friday, so I'll be in my new place. Hopefully I'll have all my stuff hung up. But that's it for us tonight, guys. If you guys could please, again, like, comment, subscribe on this video. Also hit that bell notification so you know when we go live. Mohammed, it's been great talking to you, man. I look forward to doing it the next week again, and hopefully it's after another win against Houston.
Same here, Eddie. Go Broncos.
Go Broncos. Talk to you guys later. Peace.